glass, modeling glass by Lois Mano. I don't know if everyone's heard that name. Was coming onto the scene just as I was starting my adventure in glass, and I used to be a ceramicist, so I was like, this is the best of both worlds, play with clay and make it into glass. So I very anxiously awaited. I got my first kit, and I'm on kit number 5 or 6 now. And so I'm not going to speak on behalf of Lois tonight, but the recipes that are in the printed documentation are her recipes directly from her website, and I provided you with all of the links to the different modeling glass links. Here is, and I don't know if you want to touch it, it feels like clay with a grainy feel to it. It's not smooth and slick like clay. But there's all these colors. The way I start with modeling glass is I start with clear powder because it's the cheapest powder that there is. And I use enamel to color it. And that lets me do a custom color, or whatever enamel I'm working in. I can use whatever colors that enamel has. The only enamels that I've worked with in modeling glass are Paula McCoy's Colors for Earth, which work, but the enamels are encased in the glass, so they end up, where's my guys? They end up, this is supposed to be magenta, which the pink was still okay, but it didn't have that bright magenta color that I was looking for, because the temperature couldn't get into the enamel. It sealed in the glass, so it kept. And as you can see, you can shape.
Yeah, that's lit.
I mean, if you ever done polymer clay or ceramics, this it's everything that stuff does. You can slice it. You can cut it with shearing scissors. I don't know if you can see that. I'll pass these plates around. Once it's dry, you roll it out, or you roll it out, and once it's dry, you just cut it into shapes with shearing scissors. You can stamp on it. And of course, I had to have the sarcasm stamp, because that's who I am. Is that light?
That's
I need
okay.
to stand right there.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
So you
Yeah,
can
we've got
stamp on
about
it.
15 minutes where it's going to be
Right.
It's gonna be behind the tree in a minute.
really bright.
So I start with clear glass, color it with whatever enamel. I think that any enamel would probably work, except in cases where the enamel needs the heat to get to it to mature its color, because it's encased in the glass. So if you need that color, keep that in mind as you work with modeling glass. This piece here, modeling glass best suits if you want, lamp workers are great for being able to make you adornments, as Peter calls them, for your glass. Well, if you have cookie cutters, if you have silicone molds, if you have a knife that you want to cut a shape out of, whatever way you can think of to shape modeling glass, you can do it. I traditionally use cookie cutters, and a new thing I found out, because I was going to do this class, I thought, I've been thinking about it, so let's try it. This is, probably all know about paper punches, right? So I thought, let's see what happens if I roll modeling glass out to 2 millimeter. I'm going to try to pick this up a little careful. Right?
Oh, cool.
So that's the dry modeling glass.
So you don't cut it until it's dry?
Correct.
And it doesn't
And it
crack.
doesn't crack.
Well, it did the first couple of times, and because I didn't have the clay consistent, so when I put it underneath there, it wasn't going all the way to the bottom, and when I would punch it, it would break. So I kept working with it, and I finally got it all the way in, and there's the fire cap.
Oh, look how cute.
Very thin, so to apply it to a piece of glass would be almost nothing, no problem.
That's awesome.
And it fires shiny?
Very shiny. The Rogue fires very shiny. Rogue, CFE not so much.
Is that Rogue?
This is Rogue. CFE not so much, Colors for Earth not so much, but you can, if you want to use Colors for Earth, you can go back over it after it's fired and fire it, and it'll come out glossy. So, if you do it before it's fired, if you paint it before it's fired, it's just gonna sink into the, because it's like, it's wicking into the medium.
So can you use that on any COE of glass if you were doing it as
If you're doing
adornments?
90 COE powder, then you would do 90 glass. If you're doing 96 powder, so yes, it'll work with any COE. And I'll pass this around. Modeling glass will lose about 30% of its volume. I just recently was lucky enough to see, Pido making things where I've got, this is the 2mm, all the way up to 12mm. So if I want a 6mm piece, I just put the 6mm on, roll out my glass, and I've got a 6mm piece. The 30% reduction doesn't thin it out that much, and I don't know why. That's about as thin as it was when it was dry modeling glass. So it didn't make it like
Shrinks in.
Yeah, it shrinks in, but not down. So that's something to keep in mind. This is a piece. I'll pass it around, but this is Patty Marshall's present. She got me this silicone mold. In fact, can you see the roses in there? And when she got it for me, when she gave it to me, I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Yes.
Well,
Will it go in there?
that's what it made.
Wow, okay, so. Pass around this one?
Yes.
If she hands it to me, I'll take it.
And the way, this is the best way I can demonstrate how to unmold modeling glass, because this is really deep and intricate pattern. So you've got your modeling glass, let it dry for, depending on the thickness that you've got going, it can be 1 day to 4 days to 5 days. So you need to let it dry before you try to unmold it. And then it'll be sitting flush to the top. With this one, what I did is I didn't want to waste a whole cave of modeling glass, so I kind of mold it. And you take your mold and snap it. It'll pull away from the edges. It's much easier on a less intricate, piece of silicone. And then I literally just, these here, you can flip them out. And it didn't break. So it worked great. It worked very well. For cookie cutter, let's go to this one. All of you have probably seen fondant molds and chocolate molds and, all that. So you put your modeling glass in your pieces. See the sailboat? Have I got it upside down?
No, you got it right there.
Okay.
That's it.
Sailboat and waves. Now what I did is when this fired, the waves broke, which I did not intend to happen. But I thought, well, it's kind of cool to just go ahead and make 2 layers of waves. So I stuck a piece of glass underneath there to hold this up above that row, and then put my boat in there. And what I do with modeling glass is for the sail that has the brown wood on it, I'm a realist artist, so I don't like to just have things assumed. So I take enamel and I get into these little tiny crevices with a brush. And it is time consuming because then you gotta go back and wipe off with little Q-tips whatever falls into the rest of the area. But if you don't want to take the time to do that, you could make a little rope of modeling glass, stick it in there, and then press the rest of it into the sailboat. So there's
you let
all
it dry in the mold.
dry in the mold, and then these are real easy. These you just kind of go like that and it pops right out because they're so thin. These are real easy.
Do you think maybe the wave broke because it was so long, or?
It was weird because I can't even tell, like, it looks like it broke here, but it's narrow over here, so when I took it out of the
I'm getting
film,
a
I
lot
didn't
of
pay
reflection.
attention. And then I was looking at it going, well,
Let me try
where does it
this.
fit to, because I was gonna fit it together back
we
into
go.
a continuous, form. I couldn't tell.
That
So,
cat shrank quite a bit.
30%. 30%. You wanna pass that one around?
Sure.
To do modeling glass, you have the powder, glass powder. This is colored glass powder. You can also use colored glass powder if you want to spend all kinds of money on colored glass powder. But I usually start with clear, but I figured I would show you all the real modeling glass. I'm going to be really careful
So it
Tiny,
comes
tiny
in
bit.
different colors, or you can make your
The
colors.
modeling glass is, the kit is the dry medium, which I think, I don't know if Lois would kill me, but I think it's something like CMC, but I'm not sure. And a liquid medium that I believe is glycerin, although it doesn't act like glycerin. Glycerin grabs water and holds it, and this medium grabs the dry stuff. It doesn't really seem, I don't even have to use water in there. If I mix the glass with Rogue, I mix the Rogue liquid just as usual with the Rogue medium. Then I follow the recipe for the modeling glass minus the water, because I've already got my liquid. So I don't even need to use the water. So let me real careful. The way I do this is I tilt that jar and tap that in there. So there's the glass powder. I don't know if you all know me on Facebook. For me to do this without a half-face respirator is really weird, because I would have a half-face respirator on right now. I don't even believe in paper masks. It's half-face respirator. And then the dry binder, which is this very granular.
That's salt.
Is that what's in the larger jar?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Your